clusters are formed, the designer can then either use Allegro to manually place the member components around the master part where they'd like, or they can use the CircuitSpace Autoplace local command, which will automatically place these member components around that master part in a rough form. They can decide whether they want single-sided or double-sided placement. They select the cluster and send it off to the engine to be processed. During this command, the master part is divided into several edges. So we have 4 edges on this master part. Then we look at the nets that come off of each edge and what other components those nets connect to. That creates an edge membership allocation. Once we have that allocation defined, then we have placement optimization algorithms that run to place the parts with the minimum crossing conflicts and the minimum lengths to achieve the placement. We also have an algorithm that's running for decoupling capacitor placement. You'll see that this edge has 2 power pins, this edge has 2 power pins, and this edge has 3 power pins. And we would place those decoupling capacitors as close as possible to the power pins that they're supporting. Once the command is completed, the batch control panel will open up, and this is where you would apply your results. So now we'll apply the results of this Autoplace command. And you'll see that the placement is a pretty good placement, but it is a rough placement. It's not meant to be a final placement. If I look at the rets for the nets where the parts are positioned, you'll see that we actually did a fairly decent job. You can then use Allegro to move components to some place a little bit more relevant to what you want your final placement to look like. But you'll also see that we place parts whenever possible back to back. Okay. You also see that the decoupling capacitors are placed as close to the power pins as possible. In this particular example, they're placed directly underneath the power pins. And that's the Autoplace local command in CircuitSpace.